Ricky here with Breaking Your Barriers, coming to you with our segment on hanging out with local heroes. And today is a very, very special day because I don't even want to call this man a guest. This guy's a friend of mine, and there's only one word I can say about this guy: awesome. And the reason I say this man is awesome, he's the coolest cat I've ever met. No matter what kind of situation is happening around this man, he is cool like an ice cube. It's ridiculous. And the reason why Brent for me is a local hero is because number one, he is one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life. He's one of the kindest people I've ever met in my life, and he's willing to give the shirt off his back to help you. This is the kind of person we have today. So whatever Brent is going to be sharing with us, believe me when I tell you this, you're going to love this. You're going to love this dude like I love this guy. He's awesome. With that said, I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. I'd like to go to introduce my friend, Brent Felsted. Brent, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself. They need to hear about you, my friend.
Well, thank you, Ricky. I appreciate all the kind words. You are very generous. I too have really enjoyed having you as part of our group, and I've enjoyed following you, well, to Chicago and back, and literally around, I want to say literally around the world. I didn't follow you to the Philippines, but I've sent you plenty of emails when you've been there.
Yep.
I have one question. When you were interviewing Scott, uh, he talked about going spelunking. He just said he was going to go into a cave. And as you find out about it, they threw the rope over the side of the, well, they go into the cave, they throw the rope over the side, and, 5 minutes later, it hits the bottom. 580 feet is what he said. And he talked about going down to the bottom. The one thing he didn't mention, and I'm assuming it was pitch black. I'm sure he had a headlamp. Sure, they probably dropped some glow sticks or something.
Right.
But a little bit of light at the top and a couple of glow sticks at the bottom and your headlamp and pitch black. So we'll have to ask Scott about that.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I've been in a few caves, the ones they give tours on where they have the lights. And at some point in time, they turn the lights out and it's pitch black for like 30 seconds.
Right.
But something tells me this cave that Scott was in was pitch black the whole way.
Scott did some amazing things in his life, and he didn't let any of his barriers stop him from doing whatever the heck he wanted to do. Now, with regards to you, Brent, and the reason why I personally wanted to have you as a guest and for people to hear you is because how the heck do you keep yourself so calm and collected when everybody in their right mind would have been panicking, they would have been just losing it? That's one thing I personally, and I'm sure anybody who's listening would want to hear. How do you keep yourself so calm and collected during times of chaos?
Well, during times of chaos, my life is a dichotomy. I feel on one side, I've led a gifted, blessed life, and the other side, it's chaos. So um, maybe I just don't know the difference between the two. Um, I shared with you a story earlier that relates to the picture, my background, and that
Mhm.
was uh, my wife and I had an opportunity to go on the trip of a lifetime that just kind of fell into our lap. She was talking with a coworker at the end of the school year who said he was going to Africa. He and his wife are going to Africa.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Oh, I'd love to do that sometime." Well, the next thing she knew is we were invited and we had to make a quick decision. Do we want to do this? And uh, basically it came down to, could I get time off work I essentially took 3 weeks off. And yes, I got the time off, and yes, we were on our way. Now, part of that was there's a lot of things involved. I bought a book. The book said you need to plan for something like this for a year. We had a month. There's lots of things like going and getting shots. Well, when you have a year, you can plan and go visit your doctor and go to the county and get appropriate shots. When you have a month, you go to the worldwide doctors, or what, world traveling doctors, whatever the company is, and they have all the shots there, but it's a little bit pricey. So, so we did that. We One of the things that, as the time got closer, we kept getting emails from Kenya, from Germany, United Airlines, saying you have to have a COVID test. You have to have a COVID test 72 hours before you arrive, 96 hours before you arrive. And basically, my wife went to CVC. I believe that was where she went, got her COVID test. She was golden. I missed it by a day. I went to the same drugstore. The person I talked to said, "Oh, that's 3 or 4 days out when you get the results." I'm sitting there, yeah, I fly in 2 days. So I quickly called the 24-hour people. Once again, they must be related to the traveling doctors or worldwide doctors. Not cheap, but I had my COVID test in 12, maybe 20 hours, but the next day, and all was good. Now, what happened that may not be as copacetic is when I left CVC and I had been told that it was going to be 4 days, I just felt like I fell flat on my face. I missed the opportunity to get this test. I might have missed the opportunity to go on this trip. And as I'm driving away, rage consumed me, and I practically need to buy a new steering wheel, because I'm banging on the steering wheel, screaming and shouting at the top of my lungs. And then, 5 minutes and I got back to my office. I was able to step away and be calm. So to answer your question, I'm not always calm and collective, but my car can tell stories of me being a little bit angry, losing it at times. So fortunately, with age, I'm a lot better at that. I don't have those episodes as often as maybe when I was younger. Now, a second thought that I've thought of is going back to college, when I had the opportunity to work through college, as it were. Growing up in Pullman, Washington, Eastern Washington, the family business was, in today's terms, a refuge company, a recycling company, and back when I was a kid, it was a trash company. And one of the things that I did to put myself through college is I would go and pick up the dumpsters. You see them at businesses, you see them at apartment complexes, and I'd bring them back to the shop. I'd clean them out. I would weld them up. I would sand them down and paint them, and then return them fresh and clean. Now, why do I tell you that? Why is that at all interesting? Well, what that means is today I work in the computer world. Yes, I find myself under desks hooking up people's computers from time to time. Yes, I find myself doing some odd jobs just because I'm there and I can do it. But it isn't climbing inside of a dumpster with a shovel, mucking it out. It isn't taking a steam cleaner to it to clean it out. It isn't sanding it down, painting it only after you've welded, cut wheels off, welded wheels back on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was a great opportunity when I was a kid to put myself through college, and I now have fond memories of it, but it sure makes the work I do, puts the work I do in perspective. And part of the reason why I enjoy it is just simply part of the reason why I can be that jovial person is I know I'm not in a dumpster mucking it out.
I love the key word that you said, Brent, which was perspective. Because if we can look at things with a different perspective, with a lighter perspective, and with a positive perspective, no matter what kind of garbage we go through in our life, it's going to be positive the next day, because sure, we're going to have really bad days, horrible days, but the next day could be just as amazing, and the next day can be just as amazing, and then you get back down to that garbage again. So the keyword that you shared with me has to do with perspective, and I love your outlook on life. You're like, hey, I'm willing to do any odd job to get the job done. I'm no longer in this dumpster. I've been through much worse. And I love that. I love your stories with regards. And the thing is, see, me and Brent, we get to see each other every few weeks. When we were in person before this COVID thing happened, we'd go to lunch, we'd hang out, and we actually watch some boxing matches and stuff like that. So this guy, this is a friend of mine, and I appreciate him so much. Now, Brent, if there's anything that you could share perspective wise for people who believe they're still in the dumps, who believe there's no hope, or they just think that I'm I'm not worthy for something great or something blessed. Is there any words of encouragement or hope that you can give them? Because I think they have to hear it from you, my friend.
Okay. Well, let's go back to my earlier comment where I made the comment that I lead a blessed life. I am no more worthy than anybody else for having a blessed life. Uh, I think, like we talked about, I have truly been in the dumpster and mucked it out. There are a few other stories of let's see, my father used to go up to the university. I'm from Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is a vet school. My father used to go up and to the vet school and get truckloads of manure to take out and put in his gardens. So I've done organic gardening since before I was a thing. So um, I think a lot of it is purely your attitude, and whether you're uh, organic gardening with raw manure from the vet school, or I recently bought bags of steer manure from Home Depot to put in my own garden. It's not as potent as the stuff that my father used to get. It's been sawdust down. But hey, it does the trick. So I'm going go with it. Uh, I think it's everybody has challenges, and everybody has to meet those challenges. And I, whether your challenge is maybe not getting along with family, or struggles there, it's finding some common ground that you can work with. Uh, from what I remember, one of the key events in the British-Irish relationship was the leaders getting away to the countryside for a weekend, and nobody could talk politics. Nobody could talk uh, about their point of view and their side. They ultimately spent the weekend finding common ground where, people like to go hiking, people like to uh, do various things. And once they broke, my understanding, and I'm not a political analyst or anything, but my understanding is once they broke that barrier and they found they had common ground, they were able to then uh, break the political barriers and find some common ground to work with inside the political environment. And I think we're the same way. We have everybody has challenges. Everybody has different challenges, and you just have to find a way to work together and find your common ground with others.
Rather than pushing your own agenda or your own point, you try to find that common ground, and you try to find something that's amicable. And I love that. That's a really fantastic answer. If there's anything I've taken away, and I'm hoping those of you who are listening have taken away, number one, forgive me for the puns. And if you don't think you have a blessed life, my man here has been in all kinds of garbage. He's gone through all kinds of crap. Joking aside, that's the reason why I shared earlier that he is one of the kindest people, most generous people I've ever met. His perspective on life is extremely positive. He, just like every single one of us, doesn't feel like, hey, I don't deserve this either. I do what I have to do. I'm blessed to have what I have. But the one thing that really stands apart for me is I can't believe you got into a dumpster. And I can't believe your dad, I can't believe he brought home steaming crap.
Truckloads of it. Remember, we had a garbage company. We had big trucks.
Yeah, you did. Information or inspiration you'd like to share, anything that inspires you or anything that you've used to inspire somebody else before we head out.
Last August, I went in for hip surgery. Now, this is probably, I'm going to say, well, once again, I'm not a doctor, but this is probably because when I was younger, I ran in high school, I ran in college, 1 year at college. I realized very quickly that college was very serious, and I was not as serious about running, even though I was at a junior college. But as life continued, I got into the 5 and 10K running road races. And then I hooked up with the wrong group of people, so to say. I was in a running club, and there was the group of people that ran marathons and ultra marathons. And so lo and behold, when you're around the wrong group of people, you tend to do what they do. And I found myself running marathons and ultra marathons. So over the years, I ran some 30 plus 26-mile marathons, as well as probably half a dozen 29, 30, 32-mile ultra marathons, partially because they're usually out in the wilderness, and it's not always that easy to judge the mileage. And I used to laugh as the race director would turn to one of the lead runners and say, "Was that close to 32 miles?" And the lead guy would say, "About." But you know, once you get past 26 miles, it's all downhill from there anyway. But why do I tell you that? Well, what I found is prior to last August, the last few years, I couldn't run anymore. I could walk, but it came at a price. I found myself, quote unquote, addicted to Tylenol or Advil. And when I say addicted, I mean I was taking the prescribed limit most of the time.
Wow.
And that was just. I didn't realize how bad I was. So I finally went in to see the doctor. I had been in to see a doctor a few years before, and they go, "Oh, arthritis in the hip. We'll do hip surgery." And I'm sitting there, just a minute. Don't we do things like physical therapy and other things first? Well, apparently hip surgery is one of those things that they can look at the x-rays and they can tell you if it's necessary. It's just when I was first diagnosed with it in 2018, I was not ready to hear that.
Right.
And so a few years later, I was ready to hear that. And one of the other things I heard from the hip surgery is once you're done, you'll have instant relief. Well, instant is relative because you've now been cut open. They've cut off the end of your femur. They've put a titanium ball into your bone and placed it back in with Teflon around the socket. So you have a lot of healing to do. So like 2 or 3 weeks later, then you have the instant recovery, the instant relief from all the pain. And it's interesting now, almost a year later, I can feel in my other hip that the telltale signs that it's probably going to happen sooner or later. But part of that is it was in a way self-abuse. I was going out and running marathons. I think I probably ran half a dozen in a year, 2 or 3 or 4 years in a row. And I ran with reckless abandonment. Part of that is I would get home from running a race. I get up the next morning and go out for a short jog, not a long one, but a short run. And I didn't follow the prescribed rest. And the prescribed rest is a day for every mile of the event. So theoretically, after a 26-mile race, you're resting 26 days.
Right.
No, I was out the next day running.
Hey, Brent, I got a question. Do you regret it?
No. I think, well, I don't regret it, but I think I could have been smarter. Yeah, and it was very soothing. We used to go down to Laguna Beach over on the weekend in the mornings, and we had an 8-mile course that we'd run, and it just was you're running there on the ocean, and then you're running through the community of Laguna Beach. We even when the off season, we'd go through the Pageant of the Masters area, and it was a beautiful morning, and so it was something I enjoyed, and something I do miss. But today, a year after my surgery, almost a year after my surgery, I am out walking in the mornings. I'm walking 2 to 3 miles, so I'm being smart about it. And theoretically, I can start running again, although I'm not quite ready for that.
Right. Yeah, I can't blame you. You and I share the same thoughts with regards to things that we've done in our younger years. My ankle's messed up, and this isn't so much from running, it's from fighting, and not fighting in the streets. That was way back. It was fighting competitively. And I loved it so much, I wouldn't tell my senseis that, hey, I'm injured. I'd still fight. So to this day, I don't regret it. I look back at it and I just say, you know what? This pain that I'm feeling is always going to be that amazing memory of me doing something I loved in the first place. So we share that same love.
Oh, yes. Well, those are a few stories from my life, and I appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate you, Ricky, and all your friendship and all the help you've given me over the years.
Anytime, my friend. And for those of you that are watching, I hope you've enjoyed this interview with me and my friend Brent. You've taken away, like I said, he's gone through all kinds of garbage in his life, but he didn't use it as a reason not to achieve what he's doing. He's in the computer industry now. He's had hip surgery, and he doesn't look at it in a negative way. He just remembers, well, I could have done something differently, but I'd never change it. So always that perspective on life of positivity. Hey, Brent, thanks for being here, buddy. And thanks for letting people hear your story. Once again, this is Ricky LaCorte hanging out with local heroes. We'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.